To know and not to act is yet to know. So there's no use in knowing something if you don't do something about it, because when you take action, is when you truly learn. And I think it's similar to conversations we've had, is you might know something theoretically, but unless you do it and embed it and practice it and do more of it, then you're really yet to know about it truly.
Welcome to the Rogue L&D Hot Shots podcast, a short podcast allowing you to meet some of the brilliant folk driving people performance and development forward in an informal and human way. My name's Tom Bailey, award-winning L&D leader and passionate maverick for all things development. Join me as I ask just 10 questions of some of the industry's most innovative and interesting people. Tell us about yourself.
So I'm Leonie Rothwell, and I am the co-founder of two businesses, Encounters and Sprouter. Encounters designs and delivers transformative learning experiences, and Sprouter is an ecosystem of partners that deliver organisational performance. I've been in leadership, learning and organisation performance for about 30 years. I'm slightly obsessed with this space. I can talk about it all day. I work with really great people around the world and doing really courageous and progressive work in the space.
What are you passionate about?
I've always been passionate about people. I find them endlessly interesting. And I'm also interested and passionate about systemic change. So currently at the moment, we're really focused talking to our clients about redefining performance. There's a lot of old ways of working in organisations, and we think there's an opportunity to change the way that we work and advocate for a better way. So some of the work that we're doing in Australia and Asia Pacific at the moment is around operating model transformation and looking at building an operating model that delivers purpose, motivation, problem solving, and prioritising learning as a way of working, which is really exciting.
What's the best L&D you've seen?
Well, firstly, expectations are higher now. People engage in learning in a way that you would from a consumer way. So people's expectations are higher. And I have an expansive view of development, right? As do you. So it's not always in training rooms is where we do development. I love doing development on live challenges and live goals, where not only the individual has an impact, but also there's systemic impact. So I love high stakes environment where it matters if we deliver well. And so some of those campaigns recently that we've worked on is a voice of teams process, where we work with teams that are experiencing significant challenges. And we run through a process where we hear from everybody in the whole entire team, and we surface specific challenges, and we work with the leader and the team in addressing those issues. And sometimes that includes mediation, and sometimes it involves hard decisions. It's not your usual capability upskill, but there's always learning from every voice of teams that we do. And the other one is the operating model transformation. We did a transformation across 11 different countries in Asia Pacific, changing the way they operate based on purpose, motivation and problem solving, and prioritising learning as a way of working. So that development was for everyone in the organisation as a way of working. So they're big work, it's big learning and big work and big impact.
Favourite hand gesture?
I would have to say chef's kiss. I see it being used by all the cool kids and I think it looks really good.
One thing you didn't learn?
I learnt filmmaking several years ago from zero knowledge or network. I worked with a wonderful Australian woman producer, shout out Anne-Marie Bell, who mentored me on my first short film. And I had no knowledge of what to do. I think it's probably one of the hardest jobs I've ever done. I remember she asked me as she was leaving the production office, have you secured your grip and gaffer? And I said, yep, I'm onto it. And then I proceeded to Google what is a grip and what is a gaffer. And off I went. And that's how I did it. So I learned by doing, and that's my preference, I think.
Proudest moment?
A lot of our clients give us a problem that we have to solve, and they're not quite sure how we're going to solve it. So one that comes to mind is that we were asked to help with the career progression of people with a disability. within organisations, and we came up through encounters, and we designed a solution around executive coaching and career coaching for people with a disability. So, it was a career individual coaching, very similar to what executives would get, and we tailored it to meet all the different needs of people with a disability. And our team went on a learning journey in that, and we worked with some partners to really understand the challenges that people with a disability have, and then went ahead and did coaching in this space. And I think it was a profound impact on our coaches as well, who were doing this work, who normally work with senior executives and middle management and frontline management, and they really learnt a lot about the challenges that people with a disability have every day, and the lack of understanding and acknowledgement their leaders have in helping to support people with a disability, and the value that creates for organisations. So I was really proud of our whole team for being humble and learning through that process rather than feeling like they knew everything.
Worst experience in L&D?
Oh, look, I think, quite seriously, the worst ones I get really grumpy about because it gives learning a bad name. So I think a recent one that I've experienced recently was what I call expert stretching, where someone was up the front of the class talking about mental health that clearly didn't have any expertise in mental health. I think when trainers and consultants stretch out too far around their expertise, I think sometimes it's either superficial or at worst it can cause damage. So I would say stick with experts. And then the other thing that is a bit of a bugbear for me is thoughtless learning, when people treat people like infants and put them through training that's not valuable at all. And as I said, that gives learning a completely bad rap.
Best celebrity moment?
I can't say much, but I met Robbie Williams in a bar in George Street in the 2000s at the height of his popularity. It was actually after work, we had a whole group of people there. So Juliet, who you know well, who is my co-founder in Encounters, she was a big Robbie Williams fan, and she started making faces at me and pointing behind me, and Robbie Williams has sat behind me. So I turned around, I slapped him on the leg, and I said, "You're Robbie Williams?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Well, welcome to Australia. I'm Leonie Rothwell." And then turned around again, and Juliet was just jumping out of her skin. And she couldn't get to him because there was security behind both of us, so she couldn't get to him.
Something you believed but nobody else did?
When I was working in executive coaching space, I knew that the opportunity to scale individual leadership coaching virtually for online and middle-level managers was an absolute game changer. All the investment was going to senior levels, and the reality is that change gets stuck in the middle and in the front line. So not many people agreed with me, except one person who backed me, and that's how I stepped into my first business. Then COVID hit, and then everybody's online now, but there was a lot of resistance around the effectiveness of virtual coaching. And now I think we're really pushing the boundaries of what you can do virtually, which I think is great because it gets learning to more people.
Best advice?
To know and not to act is yet to know. So there's no use in knowing something if you don't do something about it, because when you take action, is when you truly learn. And I think it's similar to conversations we've had, is you might know something theoretically, but unless you do it and embed it and practice it and do more of it, then you're really yet to know about it truly.
Thank you to our guest and to you for listening. If you want to boost the impact of your organisation's people development practices, I'd love to connect. You can find me at thomasbailey.co. Alternatively, you can look me up on LinkedIn.